Hello, this is Aaron Maller from Parallax team, and this video is going to go over the feature changes, improvements, and additions to the restroom accessory and toilet stall library version 4.1. To start, because of all the changes and additions that were happening in this version of the library, one of the first things that we did is that the sample file itself was reworked and reorganized to be a little more in line with how the other Parallax libraries are. There is now a full sample bathroom, which did sort of exist in the old sample file, but it wasn't quite as well built out or as organized. So with the rebuilding of a lot of the restroom accessories, we went ahead and updated the sample file with the sample bathroom that also has a full enlarged plan detailed out in it as well. In addition, we've also organized this file the way the other Parallax libraries are organized, where each subgrouping of components are now broken out into their own row for things such as hand dryers, mirrors, mirror arrays, medicine cabinets, and so on. The stalls themselves are also organized the same way, where we have them broken out by men's and women's and by front entry, side entry, or no partitions, which is one of the newer additions. In addition to the sample file having been restructured and reorganized, one of the biggest changes for version 4.1 of the toilet stall and restroom accessory library is that we made the move to finish converting all of the components to completely unhosted. The restroom accessories and toilet stall library previously had a large number of families that were face-based, including the shared nested grab bar that was one family down from the grab bar assemblies. All of our components used to be that way until we started heavily supporting multifamily, at which point then we pivoted everything to unhosted families. Completely rebuilding the grab bar assemblies has meant that now we have more options for grab bars, and the families are a little more user-friendly because the invisible line workaround is now always oriented in the vertical direction, whereas because they were face-based families that were rotated previously, the invisible lines were sometimes protruding front to back in the toilet stalls and things like that. So not just the grab bars themselves, but all of the other accessories have also now been completely converted to unhosted. This does also mean that all of their family names have changed. This does mean that version 4.1 is not a direct correlation to the earlier version of this library, because the family names will all be different and the families are not necessarily interchangeable for that reason. What this means is that even though the toilet stall and the grab bar parent families are the same, if you were to load this toilet stall into a project that has an earlier version in it, the family type parameters may break some constraints if it's still trying to use the old restroom accessories. So we would probably recommend that you use version 4.1 on new jobs going forward. Let your older projects that are already underway keep using the older version of the Parallax library that they have. In addition to everything moving to unhosted, that did mean that it was time for some additions and updates to the toilet stalls as well. They still function basically the exact same way, but all of the family type parameters and all of the constraints have been redone since they are now using the unhosted families. You'll see that they are still largely the same, but of course, the grab bars are now looking for the unhosted grab bar parent family. Similarly, the restroom accessories are now all looking for the unhosted versions as well. This has meant that we also took the time to make some other improvements to the toilet stall components. The pilasters and the panels and the brackets are all now unshared nested families, just to make selection and noise in your project a little less prevalent and a little more user-friendly. In addition, if you were to go look at the library in its directory for the front entry and side entry stalls, they have now also been converted to use type catalogs. That means that when you go to load in these stalls, you won't have to load in all of the types if you don't need them in your job. This is also a good thing because there are more types available since we have rebuilt all the grab bars. That's because the grab bar components now come as either what we'll call the standard grab bars, which were the filleted grab bars that have always existed, and there are also now mitered grab bars that turn at 90-degree angles. There will be more styles of grab bars in the future, but because of that, it now means that all of the toilet stall types as well, when they have grab bars and restroom accessories, do now have a suffix for are those grab bars the filleted or the mitered options. That has meant that there are now a large number of types for those components, and because of that, the conversion to type catalogs just for the front entry and the side entry stalls has made it so that when you go to load the component, you can now select by type catalog which ones you'd like to load in. Because we were adding an entire new section of grab bars in the mitered grab bars, that has also meant that our item type tag values had to change to become more extensible. Whereas in the past we had grab bars 1 through 5, suddenly there are now angled grab bars, there are more vertical options, because the grab bar library has also expanded to encompass our modified bathing library. Because of all of the additions in the grab bar library, this has also meant that now we've had to restructure their item type tag or type mark value to be a little longer so that it could encompass all of the new changes. In addition, there are also now grab bar variants that are blocking only, so that if you're working on type AB kind of units where you need to have the blocking for the grab bars in the wall but not have the grab bars themselves, we have those types pre-built. So it does mean that the type values or the item type mark values have gotten a little longer, and because of that we've also changed our default tag width for all these categories to be the 5/8 of an inch. Another change that was made while the grab bars were being reconfigured to be unhosted is the offset to the sides and back for the assembly blocking behind each grab bar is now an instance parameter. This is more convenient because when we consider that stalls may be put with different wall conditions at the back or the side, you'll see that you can now take the toilet stall or the grab bars themselves and you can individually control the dimensions of the blocking. So if there are additional layers of substrate on one wall versus the other, you can now accommodate that with the new grab bar components. Another change that came about while all the items were becoming unhosted instead of face-based is that all of the components now have the invisible line workaround enabled. That means all of the restroom accessories now have an instance parameter for does the invisible line exist. This will enable you to control whether or not the components are cut by your view's cut plane regardless of how high those items are. Any item that is meant to just be placed in the project without being nested in another family, like the mirrors, will have invisible line or invis line exists as an instance parameter that you can turn on and off at your own behest to decide if it's going to use the invisible line to cut the cut plane. For the parent components, where other items are nested in, such as the toilet stalls, you'll notice that they have a series of the invis line exists parameters that are then nested down to all of the different subcomponents. The horizontal grab bars, the vertical grab bars, the sanitary napkin disposal, the seat cover dispenser, and the toilet paper dispenser. That's in case you offset the parameters so that the seat cover dispenser is up high and you want it to be cut by the cut plane so that it's showing in your floor plan. You can now do that through the toilet stall itself. In addition to modifying the existing library to all be unhosted, there is also now a large number of new components that have been added to the library. With the expansion of the bathing library, there are now curtain rods and curtains themselves, which can be tagged and scheduled as both simple components or complex components where the nested objects are schedulable and taggable as well. The mirror library has grown in that it's been rebuilt, so there are now more variations of mirrors, and there are also now a mirror array component, which is useful for locker rooms and gyms where you may want to have mirrors of different sizes, some that are full panels and some that are partial panels, all of which are fully configurable at the instance and type level. Medicine cabinet components were also added to the Restroom accessory library, and these are some of the families that are now unhosted with cuts with voids enabled. This has been done to any of the components that are meant to be semi-recessed or recessed in the walls, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Additional sanitary napkin disposal types, including combo units and wall vending machines, have also been created and added into the library, and there are also now more variations of paper towel dispensers and waste receptacles. The Parallax Team locker array has now made its way into the restroom accessories as well, and these are configurable with different types, different vertical counts, and it is an instance array that you can stretch along any locker room when you want to put lockers in your project. There are specialty tags for the locker and the mirror components that will also allow you to count either the full number of lockers, the full number of mirrors, or the partial number of mirrors that are actually placed in the units. Additional soap dispensers and additional toilet paper dispensers were also added to the library, as well as the aforementioned additional types of grab bars, including swing down grab bars, unified corner grab bars, bathing grab bars, NFPA grab bars, and other assembly types. In addition, since a lot of these components were being used to enhance the bathing library as well, there are now a larger variation of shower and bath seats included in the restroom accessories. As we mentioned a few minutes ago, objects that were previously face-based that are now unhosted have cuts with voids enabled in them. This means a much better workflow if you are a firm that's leveraging either stacked walls or the multi-wall assembly where you're modeling your finishes as a separate wall from your backup wall. If you're doing both, then the unhosted with cuts with voids will work even better. When unhosted and cuts with voids is used and an object is placed in the model, there are now 3 walls that are interfering with this object, and previously with the face-based components, you had to pick which one of the 3 was the host, and that was the only face that could be cut by the face-based component. This typically meant you had to use Edit Profile and then carve your finish around the object. But now, since they are unhosted with cuts with voids enabled, you can now go to the Modify ribbon and do multiple cut geometries using this as the cutting object. So if we cut basic wall in the stacked wall with our paper towel dispenser, and then basic wall in the stacked wall with our paper towel dispenser, and then we do the backup wall as well, you'll see that everything cuts out perfectly, and we no longer need to worry about which face we've hosted this object to. All of the families that are meant to be semi-recessed or fully recessed, such as waste and paper towel dispensers, hand dryers, medicine cabinets, and some of the baby changers, are now configured this way so that you can use cuts with voids to get everything modeled properly and not have to worry about editing the profile to cut objects out. Similarly, things like soap dispensers that are meant to go inside or through the countertop also have voids in them, and you can tell all of these families because they have the UH parentheses void in the name. Because the workflows and a lot of the parameters in some of these components have been updated in version 4.1, there is now also a brand new user guide for the toilet stalls and restroom accessories, and all of the training videos in this library have been re-recorded as well. You'll find them all in the Downloads folder with your components. As you can see, there have been a large number of changes and improvements to all of the restroom accessories and toilet stalls in the library. The additions have taken the library from a previous count of 62 pieces to a new count of 128 pieces, meaning the library is now almost twice the size that it was before. But more importantly, the library also works considerably better with all of the improvements that have been made in this version. So with that, the sample file will show all of the components laid out, and this library is currently available in 2022 through 2025, although of course that will change as the years go forward. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, we recommend that you start with the new library on projects going forward, and jobs that already have the old version of the library in them, I would continue using the old version of the library so you don't have to go through and do a surgical replacement of all the parent and subcomponents. With that, I hope this library works great for you, and enjoy!